News, your number one station for news and updates. I'm your presenter Abdurrahman Yusuf, and these are the stories that are making our headlines tonight. United States embraces Somali government dialogue with Somaliland. Gaza region gears up for second offensive against Al-Shabaab militants. Police nab suspected rapist in Banadi region. Has welcomed the Somali government's efforts to resume talks with the political stakeholders from Somaliland and region in northern Somalia. During a phone conversation with Somali's President's Special Envoy on Somaliland Affairs, Abdikarim Hussein Goulet, the outgoing U.S. Ambassador to Somalia, Larry Andre, held the move, saying that talks could end the long difference between the sides. The U.S. government has welcomed the Somali government's effort to resume talks with the political stakeholders from Somaliland, a region in northern Somalia. During a phone conversation with Somali President's Special Envoy on Somaliland Affairs, Abdikarim Hussein Goulet, the outgoing U.S. Ambassador to Somalia, Larry Andre, held the move, saying that talks could end the long-time difference between the two sides. Mr. Andre expressed the U.S. government dedication to endorsing discussions between Somalia and Somaliland. Somaliland, a region of 4.5 million people, claimed its independence from Somalia in 1991 and has been relatively stable. Somaliland's quest for status has gone unrecognized, however, leaving it poor and isolated internationally, even though it prints its own currency, issues its own passport and elects its own government. Somaliland, a region of 4.5 million people, claimed its independence from Somalia in 1991 and has been relatively stable. Somaliland's quest for status has gone unrecognized, however, leaving it poor and isolated internationally, even though it prints its own currency, issues its own passport and elects its own government. The talks between Somalia and Somaliland began in 2012 when the London Conference on Somalia, held at Lancaster House in February, resulted in a communique. In 2014, the federal government of Somalia and the self-declared Republic of Somaliland signed an accord following 3 days talk moderated by Turkish Foreign Ministry. Qatar, Somalia, Turkey and the United Arab Emirates, the United Kingdom and the United States have expressed concern over fighting around the disputed town in Somalia's northern breakaway region of Somaliland. The UN said last week more than 185,000 people had uprooted from their homes owing to clashes with aid workers struggling to respond to the situation due to inadequate resources. Women and children accounted for an estimated 89% of the displaced population, the UN's Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs said in a statement. Many reportedly seeking shelter under trees or inside schools, which have been forced to shut. A delegation led by Gedo security officials arrived in Beledaro district and was received warmly by the Somali National Army 43rd Division Commander Colonel Osman Haji Ahmed and other military officials. General Jamal Hassan, the regional director of the National Intelligence Security Agency, led the delegation, which included other senior security officials. The reception was followed by a meeting where they discussed the overall security situation in the region, information on Al-Shabaab locations in the region, and the status of the ongoing mobilization to carry out an offensive against Al-Shabaab in the region.
A delegation by Gedo security officials arrived in Beledaro district and were warmly received by SNS 43rd Division Commander Colonel Osman Haji Ahmed and other senior military officials. General Jamal Hassan, the regional director of the National Intelligence and Security Agency, led the delegation, which included other senior security officials. The reception was followed by a meeting where they discussed the overall security situation in the region, information on Al-Shabaab locations in the region, and the status of ongoing mobilization to carry out an offensive against Al-Shabaab in the region. The officials agreed to step up operations in response to President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud's call to begin the second phase of military operations against Al-Shabaab in the country. The meeting comes amid ongoing military training for hundreds of Gedo soldiers slated to take part in the region's upcoming offensive against Al-Shabaab. The president of Jubaland, Ahmed Madobe, has insisted that his forces are determined to liberate the state from the jaws of Al-Shabaab, a group that has been causing havoc in Somalia for over a decade. During his recent visit to Kumbale, Elad, Angel, Harbole and Jana Abdalle, which had been under the control of Al-Shabaab for a long time, Madobe said the regional forces will also ensure there is normalcy in all liberated areas around the state, with the installation of the civilian rule being on top of his priority list. Kenya Defence Forces component and that from Ethiopian National Defence Forces are also stationed in some areas within Jubaland. Last year, the US Africa Command redeployed about 500 soldiers to Somalia over 12 months after Washington repositioned them elsewhere, and President Joe Biden has insisted that the US is keen to see the fall of Al-Shabaab. The United States is also targeting financiers and revenue sources of the group. The second phase of the operations against Al-Shabaab has been launched. During the first phase, the government claimed over 3,000 militants were killed.
Somali police in Banadr region have confirmed the arrest of 2 men accused of raping a young girl in Mogadishu. According to a statement by the police, the security forces acting on a tip-off by the public have succeeded to nab the suspect who were hiding in a house in Heliwa district. The two identified as Ahmed Muallim, 22 years of age, and Ali Ahmed Noor, who is 33 years old.
Somali police in the Banadr region have confirmed the arrest of 2 men accused of raping a young girl in Mogadishu. According to a statement by the police, the security forces acting on a tip-off by the public have succeeded to nab the suspects who were hiding in a house in the Heliwa district. The two are identified as Ahmed Ma'alim Abdi, 22, and Ali Ahmed Noor, who is 33 years old. The police said the suspects will be arraigned in court after the conclusion of an investigation into their cases. This comes as units of the Somali National Army that had recently been trained in Uganda were deployed in Mogadishu's western outskirts, including posts in Wadajir, Darkenle, Daynele, Kahda and Garisbali. The forces are part of units tasked with securing Mogadishu, and they immediately began night patrols in the areas where they were stationed. They will report to the police commanders of the districts in which they were deployed, and their primary mission will be to help the police maintain the capital's peace and stability. President Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud made a decision to use military forces to ensure security of the capital. The forces are part of a group of 4,000 men trained in Uganda recently, with salaries paid by the United Arab Emirates. According to a report done by the Somali Institute for Development Research and Analysis, sexual violence against women and girls in Somalia, an abominable crime less prevalent in Somalia pre-civil war history and completely against Islam, is emerging as a common occurrence in Somalia, and Somali society has lived with its horrors for decades. Recent figures show 76% of all recorded cases happen among the IDPs, whereas 14% occur in the hosting communities. Somali women and girls are reluctant to come forward and report rape due to the cultural taboo and stigma attached to it, and the shame and the loss of family honor associated with it. From the data gathered, only 2 out of 10 women feel the courage to report spousal or intimate partner violence. For Dalsan TV News, I'm Ahmed Abdurrashid Noor.
Puntland Police Chief Governor of Barri region in the company of Mayor of Bosaso District, the Commander of the Darwish Army, Chief of Security, the Deputy Minister of Internal Affairs and other officials attended Security Conference Barri region today held in Bosaso City, the capital of Barri region.
Puntland Police Chief Governor Barri region in the company of the Mayor of Bosaso District, the Commander of the Darwish Army, the Chief of Security, the Deputy Minister of Internal Affairs and other officials attended the Security Conference of Barri Region today, held in Bosaso City, the capital of Barri Region. During the meeting, the parties discussed on how to deal with the aggravating security situation in the area and formulated the following resolutions. The Security Committee has stated speeding up the bolstering security in the whole of Barri Region, especially in the city of Bosaso, annihilate Al-Shabaab and Daesh and bring to book those who orchestrate act of targeting the Al-Ma'ruf trading company in Bosaso. The Security Committee urged business merchants to cooperate with Puntland security agencies operating in Bosaso town and share with them any security-related burdens on the companies and their employees. Business companies were also advised to change their security system, such as security guards in the business premises, hidden cameras, CCTV, and equip fire extinguishers in their premises. Violence that defines southern Somalia has been spreading slowly north since 2008, when a series of synchronized car bombings shocked Somaliland and Puntland. Since then, there have been an increased occurrence of assassinations, roadside bombs, explosives, and brutalities. There has been no clear identification of the sources for the violence, but the increased use of aids point towards Al-Shabaab. The semi-autonomous state of Puntland constitutes of 5 of the 18 provinces of Somalia and is home to 6 major clans.
That's all we are prepared for you tonight from our desk here in Mogadishu. I would like to thank the Dalsan media fraternity for making this news bulletin a success. Have yourself a lovely night and